Well, we are joined now by TalkTV reporter Victoria Innes and deputy editor at The Spectator, Freddy Gray. Victoria, Rishi Sunak's spokesperson, didn't speak out until after Kemi Badenoch, the Equalities Minister, had said that these comments were racist. Why do you think it took them so long to admit that?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a question which, look, the Prime Minister is really going to face as he arrives at PMQs later today. There is no way that he couldn't have said anything. I mean, especially, as you say, after Kemi Badenoch came out, Maria Coalfield also came out and called it out for what it was. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister seemingly had nothing to say on the subject. He finally came out late last night, around 7 o'clock, and said, look, it is racist and it is wrong. That's according to his spokesperson on his behalf. And I think there was just so much pressure building, and that pressure would have been emphasised by Keir Starmer today. It will undoubtedly have been put to him by his fellow MPs in the chamber. And now, of course, the question will move to that £10 million of donation. Should that money be given back by the Tory party? Why, as you say, did it take so long for these comments to be called out? And I think a lot of people on the outside and the public will look at this and see the money and think that this is the reason why it hasn't been called out for so long.
Freddy, I'll tell you what I don't understand. Increasingly, as we go through these weeks and months, the optics of politics is sort of central to our conversations most days.
Yes.
Rishi Sunak is the first British Asian Prime Minister, and unless I'm missing the point, I would have thought that sort of comment would have hit him straight between the eyeballs and the minute it was made. Can you explain to me the intelligence of a unit, this being the Tory party, that says don't say anything until you're under pressure and other members of your cabinet are out saying it's racist? Because whatever your thoughts about, and I said what I think about, I'm not a Diane Abbott fan, you can't speak like that. Nobody can speak like that nowadays.
Well, I think, I mean, you're right about the optics, and they've handled it very badly, as they handle almost every story very badly. But I think that, I mean, they didn't want to say, they're now saying that it's clearly racist. They didn't want to say it's clearly racist because, in my view, it wasn't clearly racist. It was clumsy phrasing. It was in a private meeting. But if you want something that's clearly racist, it would have been for Frank Hester to say, I hate Diane Abbott because she's a black woman and I want to shoot her because she's a black woman.
But Freddie, for somebody to say that looking at Diane Abbott, who is a black woman, and then hating her so much to the point that they wanted to shoot her, but then also to say, it makes me hate all black women, that is clearly racist.
I'm not saying that, well, I don't think it's clearly racist. I think it is racist, and I think it's racist by implication. But I think what he was trying to say is, I'm not racist, but I hate Diane Abbott so much, it makes me feel racist.
Right.
OK, which is a bad thing to say in a private meeting.
Which is racist.
Well, I mean, we can get...
I'm not racist, but, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, all right, fine. But I just think it's, it's... The Tories get themselves in a terrible mess because they want to say it's... they want to stand by their donor, and then they walk away from it and suddenly throw him under the bus. But I just think they've gotten a mess with it because nobody quite wants to know what is clearly racist and what isn't.
They've taken the £10 million donation. It's the largest donation, I believe, for their campaign, particularly coming up to the general election. Can they afford to give that back right now? But also, this guy's been awarded £400 million worth of government contracts. What's more important, that they give the £10 million back or stop giving this guy hundreds of millions in government contracts?
Well, exactly. And I think that a big question today will be, this apology, Frank Hester coming out yesterday afternoon and saying, racism isn't limited to the colour of your skin. He gave various, points saying that it is a poison. He does recognise that. But a lot of people will be asking, did he come out and apologise because these contracts are at risk, because there is a potential reputational damage there? And is that the reason that he came out and apologised? Would he have apologised if these comments hadn't been published? Or would, he have just not said anything? And I think that's questions that a lot of people are going to be asking today.
The other thing, Freddie, is, of course, and let's get the facts out there to everybody this morning, this was 3 years ago in a private meeting. So then we get into this huge debate, and it's an important debate. We have it every single day. We talk about the marches. We live in a country that has free speech, right? I find his comments... Listen, I agree with you most of the time. I don't think they're clumsy. I think they're idiotic. I think they are easily defined as racist. But we talk about the money. We talk about the optics. Is this politics? Has somebody sat on this for 3 years? And I mean, to be honest with you, if the Tories are 20 points ahead in the polls, this might have an impact. But they're so far behind, it's pretty pointless, isn't it?
Of course it is. I mean, I'm sure people have said a lot worse things about Diane Abbott and no one cares about them because they're not major donors to the Tory party. The reason everyone cares about this story so much is it really hurts the Tories.
Yeah.
And that's why we're talking about it.
But rightly so as well. You know, we've spoken about, over the past 5 years, rooting out anti-Semitism from within Labour. Can you imagine if somebody who was a Labour Party donor had said this, for example, about Jewish people?
Again, I know we're going to disagree on this, but I just do not think this is indicative of some deep-seated racism. I think it's a rant in a private meeting about how much he hates Diane Abbott, and he's phrased it very badly. He said, I'm no great fan of Frank Hester. You know, I haven't taken any money from Frank Hester. But I think that what he was trying to do is like, look, I'm not racist, but I hate Diane Abbott so much it makes me feel racist, which is a stupid thing to say, OK? It's a stupid thing to say in a private meeting 3 years ago.
Is it his Gerald Ratner moment?
Possibly.
Can we move on to a story that I'm going to try and breathe? Whilst I'm going to start with you, Fred, if I can. Failed asylum seekers will be offered £3,000 to encourage them to go to Rwanda, despite the fact there's no planes to go to Rwanda and we can't get that through. Apparently, if you come here, and just one thing struck me this morning. I do have moments of clarity. So Rwanda was set up by our government to detract or what's the word? Disencourage. Deter, well done. People from coming to this country, and I'm all for that. I hate the fact there's 170,000 people waiting, and I hate the fact that our processing system's so rubbish. But I'm telling you, if I was sat somewhere and thinking of coming to the UK, I'd think, I'm going to have a go, because even if I don't get in, I'm going to get £3,000. And as somebody said in the meeting this morning, if they haven't got a bank account, what are we giving them? Something cash in 50s before they go? How does that work?
And also, the system is so bad.
Dreadful.
The system is so bad that they can probably take the £3,000, go away, and then come back again in a few months. How much was Rishi Sunak's bet with Piers Morgan? Was that
a grand.
A grand.
I just think he's determined to win that at this stage, because this will get seats. The bet was over, people on the planes, right?
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Well, exactly, and I think there is an argument that this is, being put forward as a bit of a backup scheme. Should the original Rwanda plan fail, there will be something that we can show for it, that the Prime Minister can stand up and say, look, I have achieved this. It may not be what I originally proposed, but this is something that I can show for the work that I've done here. So
that's a brilliant thing, but what we're saying is the taxpayer is paying people £3,000 to not come to our country. This is brilliant. Greg, because we threw it out there, we asked people, the government will offer £3,000 to move to Rwanda. Is it right to pay failed asylum seekers? Greg going, gone again. Can the government give us all £3,000 so we can just disappear from this horrendous country? You sort of understand what Greg's saying, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me.
And how are they going to monitor people in this way? Because you give somebody £3,000, at what point do you give them? Do you give it to them in cash? What can they then, like you said, claim asylum or attempt to claim asylum in the UK after that? It just doesn't seem to make any sense. But this is just box ticking, you think, just to say, we put bums on seats, that's what I promised all those years ago.
Well, I think there is an argument that could well be the case. I mean, look, the Prime Minister will obviously face a lot more questions on this today. It's not just the £3,000. There are suggestions that they will also be given help for housing for up to 5 years. They will be given help to study,
Don't worry about it if you're struggling.
So we're going to be advertising for more people to come over here to get £3,000 to go and be sent to Rwanda.
Not a deterrent, is it?
Well, exactly. If you give somebody £3,000, you're actually advertising, in a way, the people smugglers. You're encouraging people to come over here.
Where's the money coming from?
Well, exactly. I mean, the idea would be the money's coming from the money that we saved from not having to house, because we spend, £7 million a day.
Yeah.
But it's a broken system trying to fix itself with a rubbish idea. That's what it is.
It's a really interesting thing as well that somebody would stake almost every part of their political career and legacy almost on something that, whatever side of the political fence you're on, right, we wouldn't agree on the immigrant. My thing is I don't agree with the process. I don't understand how the
But we can all agree that we want to stop people smuggling gangs who exploit
And we can also
people.
We can also say that we want to stop people who shouldn't be in this country being in this country and taking advantage of a system that has so many loopholes it makes us look like a joke, because there are people in this country who are struggling. And I just don't understand how anybody who's supposed to be the Prime Minister, I genuinely mean this. I mean, the first story today is one thing, but to be that blind to reality that you think that you should keep flogging, excuse the pun, this dead horse, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in this government's defence, there is no Western democracy that's got this right at the moment. America's got a terrible illegal immigration problem. France too. Italy's still bad. Italy's actually maybe slightly better than us at the moment. But it's a major problem for all Western governments, and they're desperate to try and find creative solutions. The Rwanda plan was supposed to be a creative solution. It wasn't ever really supposed to be taken seriously, but suddenly it's become the only thing we ever talk about in terms of illegal immigration. This is just an addition to that, and it's becoming a kind of monstrous farce.
Some great comments. Thank you guys very much indeed.